welcome back. One of the predominant topics that always comes up in conversation around the Foundation's material is the topic of we only control what we can control. And so I've seen this implemented for success many times in the past, and I wanted to do a refresher on this piece. So today we're going to go back and review a couple of the conversations that we've had and how people have had success in implementing this idea.
I was reading an excellent little book the guy threw on my desk one day. It was a wonderful little book, which I would recommend to anybody, by the way.
And what's it called?
It was by James Allen, and interestingly enough, the book is well over 100 years of age.
Oh, wow.
It's sold literally millions of copies worldwide. It's called As a Man Thinketh, and it comes from an old proverb, as a man thinketh, so is he in his heart. And because I was frustrated about the agency, I was frustrated about this, and the book basically said this to me, and it really woke me up. He gave it to me and he threw it on my desk and said, you need to read the book. And I read it over the lunch hour. And the book basically said, if you don't like what you're doing and where you are, you've got nobody to blame but yourself. Now, I was furious, quite honestly, when I read that, because I had anticipated making a career change that had not come about. And I was stuck. And I was stuck in an agency. I didn't want to work. I didn't want to work with the people. I was underpaid, all the things that we have to deal with.
Sure.
And so I threw the book on his desk and I said, your book sucks. And he said, well, why is that? I said, because I have to be here. He said, well, actually you don't. And I had made a decision to stay. It was my decision. But I was blaming everybody for that, you see. And so I said, well, there's some things in life you just have to do. And he said, name them. I said, well, you've got to pay your taxes. And he said, well, actually you don't. He said, I said, well, if you don't, you go to jail. He said, well, that's right, but it's a choice. He said, and then he helped me out here. He said, everything, he says, there's only one thing in life that you have to do, and that is none. Everything else is a choice. And it really was liberating, I found, okay? He was right. But I thought I had him too. I said, how about, I had a little baby girl at home at the time. This was before disposable diapers.
Okay.
You remember? Most
no, I don't remember that.
But let me tell you, that was not a pretty thing. And I said, I said, diapers. I said, man, you got to change diapers. And he goes, no, actually you don't. He said, you just leave them on there long enough. He said, in time, gravity will take them. He said,
which is also true.
It's a choice, you see that? So what he was helping me to understand is that you made the decision to stay here. And if you're that unhappy, then by all means, make a decision to leave.
Sure.
But if in fact, now, what is it you're going to, because he told me this, he says, the opportunities I was going to have in that other job would be, he said, but he was right about this, I was in Florida at the time, he says, what we're going to experience here in the next decade is going to be so instructive, and it was, until he was. And there's a lot that could be learned from that, you see. So what he helped me understand is, and he told me this, because people would go by my office, and I'd be going, this place sucks, the bosses sucks, the weather sucks, the pay sucks, the retirement sucks, And
so you were Eeyore.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
And people after a while were going by my, and they were just what an idiot basically. And he told me this: as you keep asking like this, you're going to find out people aren't going to what? They're going to hang out with you.
Right.
They're not going to think about maybe giving you opportunities or promoting you. He said, because he said the only thing that you control in this set of circumstances is yourself and your behaviors. And boy, that was just like somebody hit me right between the eyes, because I had to own all of that, and own every bit of it. But it's life-changing for me.
So remember, overall, we can only control ourselves, our reactions, and our behavior. And I think in the society we're living in today, and a lot of the examples that we're seeing of imperfect behavior, this is really important. At the end of the day, we have to have accountability for our actions, our words, regardless of what our intent is at that time. Yeah, Bill Westfall talks about, and I utilize a lot in foundations, you only control what you can control, and that's ourselves.
Man, that is a good one. That is one that I have to remind myself multiple times a day, especially in my job.
Yeah.
And I try to remind our officers. Our officers get really wound up, and I'm not saying they shouldn't, about what they perceive the prosecutor or courts do or don't do.
Yeah.
And so what they use that as sometimes as an excuse not to do their job.
Right.
And Bill Belichick, coach New England Patriots for a long time, says do your job. If you're the running back, do your job. If you're an offensive right tackle, do your job. If you're left tackle, do your job. If you're defensive back, do your job.
Sure.
And if everybody does their job, then the team succeeds. Control what you can control will make, if you can, it's not like you plant a flag and you realize it and it's done.
Yeah.
Like it's situational. It's but you'll be so much happier in your life if you can focus on those things that you can control.
I can tell you that one of the most possibly controversial or debated topics we have in the Foundations of Leadership material is the concept of we can only control what we can control, and that being ourselves. Some people see that as a cop-out, that when we don't know what to do, we just say that's not our problem, we can't control it and move on. Historically, I've not seen it that way. I see it more as we obsess about things that are out of our reach or out of our hands. And so I think one of the best examples of that in today's society are the meltdown videos that we see regularly on all of our social channels, where someone doesn't get their way and they absolutely, as a grown adult, start behaving like a toddler or a child. And so, to me, this just is probably the red flag that they have not provided themselves or been provided historically with tools to handle a stress threshold. And so we all have a threshold for where we can deal with problems and issues and bumps in the road. And once we hit that and we don't know what to do, our brain starts spinning, much like a TV show starts buffering on a streaming network. And we try to understand, as our brain is looking for something to grasp on from our experience or our overall frame of reference on how to handle the situation. And a great example is one that I saw last year, where a grown adult woman is on the floor throwing a tantrum, literally kicking and screaming, in an airport because I believe her luggage was overweight and they were going to charge her. So something that many of us would think is just a minor problem that's easy to solve. Not everyone has the capacity for that. We also see the other videos, especially many videos where people are resisting police officers verbally and refusing to comply, and that never ends up being a good situation for them. But I think overall the concept of we only control what we can control is really focused on our own unconditional self-accountability. And what can we do or not do, and what decisions can we make on a daily basis that can either help us become more effective or hinder us. And many times when we let our minds get emotionally hijacked, that limits our ability to have an effective outcome. So we have to sometimes stop and think about what part of this do I control, but also what part of this do I own? And before I make a decision, what are those second and third and fourth order effects that may come from after that? So I hope you've enjoyed the summary of this concept. I hope the review of the past conversations have been helpful to you as well.